Welcome back, everyone. Well, you're going to get a chance to fine-tune your funny bone here. You hear me say it a lot, but we're really fortunate in this community that we live in because the arts and everything related to the arts and performance is on the minds of people around here. And lo and behold, I think probably about 2 months ago, I'm wandering on Broadway and I noticed a sign that says a comedy works. And anybody who lives in the area knows that for a better part of 30, 40 years in Albany, the Comedy Works has been the go-to club for nationally known comedians, comedians on the way up, comedians who want to test new material. And lo and behold, right here in Saratoga, a branch of the comedy club was opening up. So knock on the door, go inside, meet this guy, Tommy Nicchi, who's the owner of the Comedy Works. And let's just say that we hit it off. So welcome, Tommy.
Thank you. Thanks
really nice to have you here.
Glad to be here.
For 35, 40 years, right?
Yeah,
in Albany?
The Comedy Works opened up in 1981. My father opened it up. It was in a basement below his restaurant, and it was just before comedy became the thing outside of New York City.
That's right. And Tommy and I have both went through the biz at a time when, on the television side, when people were calling me up and saying, you're not going to believe there's going to be a whole network devoted to comedy. They're going to call, I don't know what they're going to call it, but it's going to be all about comedy.
That's right.
And I had the real good fortune of working.
And Comedy Central was born.
That's correct.
And it was a battle for the first couple of years.
Oh, was it ever a battle?
And a lot of comedians blamed Comedy Central for a lack of work, but they always
right.
find things to complain about.
Yes,
and now Comedy Central is wildly successful.
That's true. And so is the Comedy Works.
Right.
So what was behind it? A real love of comedy?
Well, I took over, or I shouldn't say took over, I started working the front end of the club when I was a teenager, and then I want to say about 8 years ago, took the comedy club over full time, and then we found this beautiful space on Broadway in Saratoga. It wasn't set up for comedy, so we had to build what I consider to be the right kind of showroom, and now we're open as of just a couple of weeks ago.
It was a 2-year effort, right? Weren't you telling me that?
Correct. Yeah, it was a late night hip hop nightclub that we had to convert. We started converting it, realized it was wrong for comedy, so it's a music venue now. And then in a second room associated with the venue, we built a comedy club.
There is real art in building a club devoted to comedy. Music clubs a lot of times go deep with a lot of, side viewing and stuff like that. Comedy has to be an intimate relationship because the reason that the comedians want that kind of environment is so that they have a one-on-one with the audience.
Correct.
And you really designed that club beautifully.
And people, young comedians or even patrons, don't always understand comedy at its best, at its core, is a conversation between two people where one makes them laugh. Now, maybe they make a group of people laugh all at the same time, but comedy really is that connection between two people. And the room that we've set up, it's the laughter stays within the room. The comedian can see everyone's face for the most part within the room, and you feel like you're right there with them, whether it's a storytelling comedian or a high-energy comedian or a prop comic. So,
with comedy in that kind of an environment, the person on stage and the person in the audience almost have an equal responsibility, if that's the right word.
It's a two-way street, for sure.
It's a two-way street.
Now, that being said, we have nights where you can tell a husband and wife got in a fight in the parking lot right before the show because his arms are crossed and her arms are crossed. They're not saying anything. But that's the power of comedy. They're convincing themselves before the show, I am not going to have a good time tonight. I'm not going to laugh. Right. And if the comedian is good at what they do, they're helpless. That comedian's going to get those people to uncross their arms and laugh out loud.
Comedy is the kind of business, by the way, where nationally known comics, internationally known comics, always check in with an audience in a club environment to get that intimacy on the one-to-one to know whether material is working or not working.
Correct.
If they're really popular and they get in the stadium, they can't see the audience as well. So they always do that, and I know that you've had a lot of experience with that.
You can't work out material unless you actually get on stage in front of people and get that instant reaction or that instant gratification from them. So even last year at our Albany location, Aziz Ansari, who was from NBC's Parks and Rec, he sold out Madison Square Garden a couple of times. His agent called us up and said, look, he wants to work out new material for this tour he's doing. And he came in, did 13 shows, sold them all out. And it's probably the last time, I guess until the next time, where you can see an act like that in a 120-seat venue.
At the Comedy Works in Saratoga, on the wall are all the photographs of the artists that have performed there. it's stunning. I mean, it's a who's who in comedy.
Yeah, we went through, Comedy Central put a list out several
Right.
years ago, the top 100 comedians of all time, and I think 70 of them have worked for the Comedy Works, either at our club shows or our small theater shows over the years. Everyone from George Carlin to Eddie Murphy to Ellen DeGeneres, right to the unknown comedian that'll be opening our show this weekend from Niskayuna.
Yeah, I've got it. Tell us who's coming up. You mentioned Tim Meadows and a couple of other.
Tim Meadows from Saturday Night Live and the Ladies' Man, he's coming up. Nick DiPaolo, who's been one of the top comics in New York City for about 2 decades and has his own radio show. He's coming through. Kevin Meaney's coming through, and then we've got artists who would really raise the flag that we're sort of waiting until about a week, 2 weeks before they start their national tours to be able to say this person's coming in or that person's coming in, sort of like Aziz did. But we've had most everybody, even if they're just coming through, stop in to see a show. So Lisa Lampanelli stopped in to see a show a couple of weeks ago. Didn't want to go on stage, but a friend of hers was performing, and she wanted to be there to support.
You know, we had a phrase at Comedy Central we used to use, comedy is a serious business. And it's really true. When an artist, and you've built that reputation, when an artist feels at home, going to a club venue means that they get to talk to you. They get to have that conversation, two-way conversation with the audience, but it's a home base for them. And that's really creates the kind of creative environment for an artist to really know where they stand.
Well, no question. They can see the faces of people as they react to something that they wrote. So when Aziz, for example, came in, his show, the first one he did, was totally different from the 13th show he did. And he would just revise and edit and punch up the shows from one to the next, so that by the time he finished the last show, he goes, I'm ready to go, let's do the tour.
Yeah, I got it. Well, great, Tommy. So Comedy Works is opened up in Saratoga. It's right on Broadway, in the heart of Broadway. And go to the website, comedyworks.com. Take a look at the list of artists that are coming, and let's support this club. Right in our midst, we have a nationally known venue for comedy. That's pretty exciting to me, Tommy.
We're looking forward to it. We're happy to be here.
Great. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
Good to see you. To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.